Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ask Adam. Ask is the acronym for Always Seek Knowledge. That is what I strive to do in each one of these episodes, is not only share some of my experience and knowledge, but also to ignite the spark within you that you may engage in seeking knowledge for yourself, to understand a little bit more of the topics that we speak about. And if it's something you don't completely understand, that you're going to reach out to many resources available, both online, on the web, stuff we have available through the Ask Adam Live website that will get you engaged to do truly what you want to do. And that is my hope and purpose, is that each one of us finds our soul's purpose, engages in it fully, and lives our best life. Now let's begin. Today's episode, winning over your inner critic. The voice that's in your head isn't your truth. It's your training, and it's time to rewrite it. Let's begin. Your inner critic isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to protect the version of you that no longer needs protecting. You know, we all come from some level of upbringing. We all come from some level of experience. We all have either developed or adopted, created, fed that harsh internal voice. You know, and it's not your enemy, it's a signal. And it can be redirected, retrained, and even reprogrammed. Much of what I do in my certification with the Neuroencoding Institute is just that, helping people to reprogram, to reset those expectations, to correct just some of the mindsets that we have that no longer serve us. I'm sure, just as a quick example, we've all had the proverbial story of the hand on a hot stove, right? And they said, don't do it, it'll hurt you. Don't do it, it'll hurt you. You inevitably, for whatever reason, touch the stove, touch the hot thing, the pot, pan, whatever. And you went, wow, that was hot, and it stung and it hurt and it's very uncomfortable. And you remembered to this day not to touch things that might be hot. That was a protective instinct to to share with us and to ingrain in us not to touch things that have the potential of being hot or can hurt us through the scoring or burning of skin. Now, having that same lesson of don't do that, don't do that, don't do that can also get ingrained, and we start to, well, in our unique mind, in our mental capacity, in the way that we program our mind through development, is we start to incorporating that no, don't touch that, or no, don't do this with other things. So it doesn't just apply to the hot stove, it applies to don't further advance your career, don't seek out your soul's purpose, don't disrupt or overturn the proverbial apple cart known as your life, because that's a protective measure that we've developed and we've put into basically our psyche, and we've put it in that same category as the hot stove, lest we never forget it. However, how many times have you reached into the stove to grab something, especially if you get during the holidays, right? When you're doing a lot of crazy cooking and you got everything but the kitchen sink in the stove trying to get done by dinner time or whatever, and you grab the thing from the bottom rack, and lo and behold, your hand, as you lift it up and take it off that rack, touches the top rack, and boom, you have a scar on your hand where you burn. Even though you were told several times, don't touch it, it'll burn, you were busy doing something else. And your hand bumped the hot shelf within the stove, and therefore you got scorned. Now, did that take you back to your childhood memory? Probably not immediately, but in the way that your brain is wired, it did, because that was what was ingrained into you at the very young. I'm going to use this new fun word called spongeful age, where you absorbed so much information before the age of 7. And sadly, so much of that information is what you still retain in many aspects of your life today, whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. You could be 80 years old, and that ingrained doctrine of the age of 1 to 7 is still in there, still rattling around, still sort of defrag, most likely. And it's still kind of just chattering around in there to remind us of the good, bad, and the indifferent. Anyway, I digress. The In this episode, you're going to learn how the quiet critic and hear your true voice to help reframe inner dialogue so you become your ally, not your saboteur. Again, it's good to remember about the hot stove, but not to stop you from doing something in life. Part 1, where your inner critic comes from. Root causes, early conditioning, like I said. Parents, school, trauma. We've all had life events, and each one of those from that event, whether it was how we felt, what we experienced, what we visualized, all of that also goes through the filter of translation. And so it does, I shouldn't say does, it always has the situation of getting discombobulated, right? It kind of gets mixed. So the things that you think you saw, heard, and felt could have been a combination of things on the peripheral of that event that maybe you were feeling at the time. And you mix those emotions in with these emotions and said that it was a happy time when it probably wasn't, or it was an uncomfortable time, but you masked it with happiness. And so it's sort of this interweaving as you're putting it into your download and retaining it for the rest of your life. And this is what creates your inner critic. This is what develops part of what I call the toxic 10. Fear of failure, fear of judgment. And you've got to realign those. Yeah, there's fear of judgment, but you need to look at that more on a positive note of, I'm not afraid to be judged because I'm anxious to learn. You know, one of the things that I'm involved with the Toastmasters group here locally, I like to give back. So I'm kind of a mentor as the VP of education at my local Toastmasters group. But I share with individuals that you don't want to start the process with fear of rejection. You want to start the process with the excitement to learn. And even if 100% failure occurs during your presentation and some of the feedback is good, bad, or harsh, take that as a learning experience. Take that. You want that. You want to go back to your youthful, spongic self and absorb all of that, because that's when we learn from that feedback. Yeah, you could have done better. Absolutely. Gonna do it next time. Because each time you learn from those experiences, you create a better self. You create a better self to now give that presentation to its best. And it works. It works. But you have to have that positive mindset to already be engaged to accept the feedback and not look at it as criticism and not be afraid that from the beginning, if you haven't even done the presentation and you're already afraid that it might not work out. Well, if you go with an attitude like that, I'm going to tell you 98% point 2 is you're not going to do well because that's in your mind. But in your mind, you're saying, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And you do it. And the multiple mirrors of people that are in the room with you as that presentation occurs are seeing things that you're not seeing, which is why I always, in my mentorship, I tell each one of my mentees, present in front of a mirror, present in front of a camera, record yourself, go back and look at it. Yeah, it's not going to be comfortable. Grab your favorite beverage, even if it's something that absolutely is not good for you. Have a sweet snack, whatever can allow you to feel, and well, man, I'm getting into another episode again. What allows you to feel the happiest emotions that you can. And I'm not a big fan of Twinkies, but we'll just use that as the proverbial snack of sweets is if a Twinkie makes you happy and brings you to your sponging, youthful self, to just look and absorb with the eyes of a youth and the energy of a sweet child with no judgment, do that. For the beginning. I'm not saying you got to get this into a habitual behavior, but I'm saying when you need to kind of break that barrier of looking at yourself with judgmental eyes, get yourself in that sweet spot. Get yourself in that happy, youthful, sponging place. And then watch that video, watch that presentation you just recorded and look at it and go, I see what I did. Oh, look at that. Oh, that was great. That was good. I need more of that and less of this. See how that is? See how you're already sort of, well, as I say, you got to kill the monster when it's a baby. And this is one of the ways to do it. And if you're, well, we're all along the line. I shouldn't say if any, we are all, and I've had to do it too. So you're not alone. When you're starting at this infancy, there's a lot of echo going on. There's a lot of criticism happening. It's brutal. But get yourself into that happy place. And I'm not saying the box of Twinkies. I'm saying a Twinkie. You just need a few seconds. Again, we're getting into the depths of narrowing coding, but I'm trying to keep this shallow. You want to get into that youthful, open-eyed, non-judgmental space where you can live and learn for just a few seconds. Because once you get this habit started, you won't need the Twinkie and the favorite beverage, and you won't need it because you're already going to be in that youthful, spongic place where you're going to go, oh yeah, I did more of that. And I got to do less of that. And where did that thing come from? When did I start doing this? And so you go through those. So now you're building the confidence. I'm wrapping this up now. You go to the confidence of that presentation of knowing what you're doing and knowing that you've squashed the monster. And you've squashed that inner critic from saying all of the things that you're not good at. When you do your presentation, you're standing up there and you're doing it and you knock it out of the park. And now your feedback is, wow, I was moved. I was motivated. You did this, you did that. I liked how you did this and did that. And that was a twist when all of a sudden you pivoted and you raised your voice, or you lowered your voice, or you paused. Or now you're getting this positive feedback that you're feeding on. And again, because you've engaged in this spongic, youthful setting enough times, it's become habituation where it's no longer something you're thinking about. It's something that's automatically happening. And when that's automatically happening and you're engaging in it each time, that monster that you thought that you first discovered when you heard this episode and went back and started thinking about things and went, yeah, man, that critic's been bothering me like crazy and it's big as an elephant. You'll realize it's small as a Chihuahua puppy and it's playful with less bark. That it's tameable and that it's not ruling you and controlling you. Now, I know we've gone through what, maybe 5 minutes of really gold content dialogue. But this could be several weeks of a process. So don't just go, wow, I can't beat the monster up. It's way too big. No. Clients that I've worked with, the people that I've helped, the mentees at Toastmasters. I mean, these are weeks and months and sometimes years of sessions where it's building this up and working to the point where you've squashed the critic. So it's not an overnight thing. Each one of these things takes steps, and that's why first you have to do is take this step first. Anchoring and reframing tools to install new internal scripts. Those are available through some of the workbook content that you can find at askadamlive.com. I want to share with you a quote that voice isn't your truth. It's just the loudest memory. So how do we change? How do we change that memory? So this loud voice in your head is that of positivity. Well, conveniently, that takes us into part 2, rewriting the script in real time. Step 1, name the critic. Do you have a name for this? Because the critic, the critic shows up every time. So it's not just one thing. And I'm sure some of you have already named your critic. You've named your monster. If you haven't, now is the best time. Name the critic. Giving it a persona separates it from the identity of you. I'll give you an example. For those of you who have not named your critic, that's just old Fear Frank talking again. And you may have several. Could be a multiple personality aspect where you have Fearful Frank and a couple others that are out there. You know, there's Anne who anticipates tragedy all the time. And whatever it is, you could have various characters. The idea is you want to kind of eliminate all of them. But if you give them sort of a persona, you give them a name, and you associate that creatively with kind of the action. Again, this is something that's helpful if it relates to you. So that's why I don't want to give too many clues or examples, because you need to give it a name. You need to connect with it on your level. And so once you do that and you recognize what it is, and when it does show up, you don't just let it keep going on like you're at the World Series and the crowd's going crazy. No, you squash that and you say, yeah, that's Fearful Frank, and you're not part of this today. And the more you acknowledge it, the more you set it aside and say, yes, I'm not doing that. And here's the next thing, is to start churning that into a positive in your same statement. That's Fearful Frank. He's not welcome here today. I'm looking for Anne, who's Anne, toughest word today, anticipatory Anne, who is looking forward to today. Not fearful, but looking forward. Again, I don't want to give too many examples because this needs to be for you, and I don't want to make it too complex. They need to be snappy. They need to be something you're going to remember. They need to resonate with you, and you need to be able to acknowledge as well as to rename it and squash it and give it something of a positive vibe. Step 2, question the thought. Ask, would I say this to someone I love? Is this 100% true or just familiar? Step 3, reframe with power language. I can't handle this. And you need to flip that to, I'm learning how to handle this. Again, words mean so much. Whole nother episode. We're not going to get into that. I think I've gone off the rails enough today. But words are important. What you say is what you hear, and what you hear is also what others hear. But strangely enough, what you hear also resonates with what has been downloaded in your mind, and it automatically hears, I can't handle this. And your brain goes right back to faster than AI. By the way, I want to make that clear. Neuro studies have proven the brain is still faster than AI because of all the information, the neurons, the connectivity, the yeah, just the random amount of, you could defrag your mind 100 times and it still has just crap sitting in the crevices. It's really, really hard to work through. And that's where part of this process of sort of quieting that inner critic is probably most paramount start. And then we can get in depth with some other things. But what you say is what you hear. And then that can't resonates with all the other things that you can't, that you didn't. And then, like I said, I spoke earlier about the weaving, is now all of a sudden it's going to start weaving it again in a new way because of the neuron patterns that you have that may or may not be structured. And that's where we help build this repetition of structure. So now when you think, I'm learning how to handle this, you've created a super highway of I'm learning to handle this into the creative mode of your mind that's going to start sparking other things instead of the word can't, which goes back to all the things you didn't do. Does that make sense? Words like I always fail. Who says that? I'm experimenting and adjusting. See how much better that sounds? I'm experimenting and adjusting. Here's one that I hear people always say that I'll throw in, just came to my mind. I can't afford. Whether it's monetary or not, I can't afford to take time off. Is it because you don't have money saved up to do it? You don't have vacation time through your employer where you get compensated when you're not there? What do you mean you can't afford? You shouldn't say you can't afford anything. It's, I'm looking into planning to do this. I am going to strategize this event. You should never say you can't afford, whether it's monetary or not. You could say, I haven't found a unique method to implement that yet. Not that you can't afford. If it's monetary, you just haven't figured out how to save the money. You haven't figured out where to find the money. Money's everywhere, by the way. You haven't figured out how to put it in your so-called busy schedule, which, by the way, if we sat down in a session and we went through your calendar, I guarantee you there's weeks of missed opportunity. Nonetheless, I digress. There's never any such thing as can't or afford or, yeah. You're learning, you're experimenting, you're creating, you're adapting. Like I said, with the mentees at Toastmasters that I work with, they're, many of them, I'm like, hey, you're going to get up and do your first speech? Man, I'm not ready. And some of it is that they're busy getting ready. Like, well, I finally got a topic. Now I'm working on it. Okay. Well, have you done your recordings? Well, some things got in the way. Haven't really. They're always ready, getting ready. And instead, you should say, I'm made for this. There's a reason that you showed up at the first meeting. There was a reason that you engaged in the process of doing this. There's a spiritual fire that's going on within you to do your soul's purpose. That's why you're there. That's why you feel good when you're there. That's why you appreciate engaging with others. That's why you like to participate, even giving others feedback. Some of your authentic points of view that you see someone do or appreciate, you say, hey, I really liked how you did that. Or you did that and I got uncomfortable. Quite frankly, I'd like to know that as a speaker. If I've made my audience feel uncomfortable by whatever gesture was made, certainly that's, to me, positive feedback. I don't like to hear it, but I think in front of 10 people to get that kind of feedback is better than doing it in front of 100,000 and then saying, oh, probably shouldn't have done that gesture. So again, I look forward to feedback. I love feedback. I want to know, and I'm not afraid to do something. Quite frankly, it's not failure, it's learning. Every experience is learning. And even if it hurts, it's still learning. The burnt stove, it's still learning. You just try not to do it again. And if you do, you're reminded that, well, maybe it wasn't within where you were paying attention to. And what you can learn is that you got to broaden your scope. Your peripheral needs to be a little wider in all situations to be able to capture that. You know, I'm kind of a photography buff and kind of get in the weeds with this a little bit, but the lens on a camera has a thing called an aperture. And that aperture opens and closes that allows the light to come in that presents the image to the device. And depending on the size of that aperture, depends on how much is let in. And if you're out on a sunny day and that aperture is too big, there's too much light, you basically end up with a whiteout image with a lot of white noise in it. And if it's too closed, you're going to end up with a dark image, even in a sunny day. So it has to be at the right aperture to allow the right amount of light. When you're taking pictures at night, man, that thing opens up like crazy because it's absorbing all the light it can, even in the darkness. By the way, spiritually speaking, there is hints of light in the darkness. We don't always see them, but they're there. Okay, I'm off of my photography stool. Let's continue. Part 3, build your inner ally. We've touched on that a little bit, but let's dive into it with some tools and some rituals that hopefully will help you out. Daily mirror reframing. I know I've talked about this in several other episodes, but if you don't have a full-length mirror of some type hanging on a door, freestanding, stylish, non-stylish, it doesn't matter. You need a mirror. I'm not talking a little handheld mirror that you pick at your face in the bathroom and stuff like that, ladies. No, I'm talking full length. And I'm sure most ladies out there in the audience have full length mirrors because you want to see the shoes, the dress, and your hair all in the same capture, right? Get you a full length mirror, and preferably not one that's mounted on the dresser because occasionally you're going to want to get up close to it. You're going to want to be like right here, right? Like right there, because you're going to look at yourself many times. This is, again, you want in on this? We got to kill the baby, kill the monster while it's a baby. And that's part of what we're doing. You look at yourself in the eye, you say your name and a praise. This is going back, there's a whole workshop on this, by the way, but I'm just sharing this with you today, this little nugget. It's gold. Say your name plus praise. Are you ready? Anybody that has a mirror, you can do this now. Get right up into the mirror, not too close, it's kind of creepy, but get in front of that mirror and say your name plus a praise. Adam, I love you. You've got this. You are built for this moment. Those are the 3 genuine ones that come to mind, but you can use your own, but create those from those 3. First of all, your name and I love you. You have to love yourself. I'm telling, well, wow, that was the other episode too. But anyway, you got to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, nobody else can love you. And if they're with you, I almost got in the weeds on that one. But anyway, you got to love yourself, first of all. And you've got to reassure yourself that what you're doing is your soul's purpose. And great exercise is if you look in the mirror and you say you've got this and there's still doubt in your mind, and you're doing this in sessions, by the way, you want to do this for about 6 weeks. You want to do it for 10 days on, 3 times a day. And then you want to take a 10-day break and then 10 days back on. Again, we're doing this for a full window of 6 weeks. And even if you just did these three, your name, your praise, you've got this, you're built for this moment. Whatever the moment is, again, just keep it general to get started. And whatever you're doing, you've got this. And if you have trouble looking in the mirror and doing this, then we're just going to start with the thing and just say, I love you, and look yourself in the eye and be comfortable with that. And say, I love you. And look in the mirror and say, I love you. And be connected with yourself. And once you feel that comfort and that energy, because the mirror is going to reflect that energy, then you're going to feel yourself. I know it's kind of creepy, a little weird at first, but once you start feeling that your energy is calm and equal, and you're not just looking at that person going, "Ooh, I wonder what they're thinking about me." It's you. That's again, I told you it's going to get creepy. But when you're looking and you get comfortable and you're like, I know that person, and I like that person, and I love that person, and I want to be that person. Now you're resonating. And then you start telling that person that you got this and you're built for this moment. And then you start defining what those moments are. And through that, again, 3 times a day, 10 days, 10-day block, a 10-day block off where you're not doing it at all, and then go back to a 10-day block where you're doing it 3 days, 3 times a day for 10 days in that window of time of 6 weeks. And I want you to do that process. And then through that process, you can start defining what it is you're discovering. Like you discover, hey, I don't like being a teacher, or I don't like working in a factory, I'd rather be a teacher. Then you can start defining what it is that you're becoming to say, you got this, you're going to be. You are built for this moment to be blank. And start adding the details of your life into them. And as you resonate this and as you hear it, it's going to start strengthening that superhighway known as the basically neuroencoding in your mind. And you're going to start seeing that and believing that and energizing what's that. And I think sometimes it gets misconstrued where it's kind of a spirituality thing and stuff like that in the universe. And, you know, I don't really think we got to get that far out of the forest on that. I think, again, so much of these episodes are just the basic building blocks. It's the workshop where we really get in depth with this. But the basic building blocks is you getting connected with you. Start there and then go into the detail. And now I want you to be a little bit of an investigative reporter, right? Put your cop hat on, be a popo, and create that evidence list. Write down 5 wins daily. This fires the brain to scan for progress, not problems. So as you're speaking and you're writing, and like I said, what we write, we invite. See how all this is connected together? So, see yourself, write down the evidence, which is your 5 wins daily. And this is going to multiply and spark creativity. So in the beginning, if you're doing your mirror reframe and it's not quite kicking in, like I said, just keep it general, but keep praising yourself, stating your name. I love you. You got this. You're built for this moment. Like I said, keep it general. Write down your 5 wins. Even if they're small, they're wins. You got to start small. Just like the elephant, little spoonful. You're not going to eat an elephant in one sitting. It's one bite at a time. So again, we're killing the monster. We should do it while it's a baby, but when it's big, yeah, it's going to take a little bit. Write down your 5 wins. And then you want to anchor this with movement. What's your power pose? Your walk, your plus your mantra, if you will, equals the interrupt plus a replacement. Now we're getting a little bit more advanced, but when you see a superhero, what do you picture? Right, someone with their hands on their hips and their chest puffed out and their shoulders back, ready to conquer the world. Is that your pose? Do you have a power walk? Do you stride with wide, long steps? Do that. Do about 5 steps and put your hands on your hips and puff out your chest and state your mantra. I've got this. You're built for this moment. So when your inner critic is coming in to interrupt, which is the other part of this equation, and this is more visual in the handbook, and maybe we can put this on the video screen, but your walk plus your mantra equals the interrupt plus replace. So when maybe you wake up in the morning and you're like, man, this is going to be a bummer day. No, go look in the mirror. Take your power steps. Get your stance. What's your mantra? That's your interrupt of your critic. At this point, you should hear a little squish, because that's you're interrupting that thought. And then you're going to replace it with what has spawned from your 5 daily wins, which is your positive movement forward. I am not my fear. I am my focus. Life is happening for me, not to me. You will create your own. I have a few. I'm working on them. It's probably going to end up a book one day, but I've got quite a few of them. Also a big fan of acronyms if you like to go in that direction. But either way, it's got to be replaced with that positive. I am not my fear. I am my focus. Life is happening for me, not to me. Trust me, after this little session and you go through that 6-week window, you're going to wake up every day with so much action-minded energy to be like, I can't wait to see how life's going to fold out today. Because it's happening for me, not to me. And even the crazy things, you're going to be like, man, that is great. I learned something from that. And people around you are going to be, are you crazy? You know, the things just fell apart. The proverbial wheel fell off the wagon. Things are going sideways. When I engage with people and things start to go a little haywire during an event or something, and it's just like, hey, life's happening for us. And as my friend Les Brown says, life be life, and it's just happening. It's life. What can we learn from it? Well, we can learn to see it, understand it, try to pivot away from it, and just know that it's going to happen and be prepared for it to happen. And not get all worked up with stress or anxiety that it's ever going to happen again, and not let it go into that resonated space that now it becomes our critic to go, oh, well, I can't go do this because this may happen. It happened once. It's going to happen again. Figure out how to just let it happen and walk by. Because life be life, as Les said. So let's recap a little bit. The inner critic is a pattern of protection. It served us for a moment, but it's not going to serve us now. So how can we adapt? You can interrupt it, question it, and reframe it. You don't fight the voice, you lead it. Going through those following steps, you lead it. You now take control of it. And don't allow it to resonate, because it says the first thing to you, you squash it like a grape. As soon as you hear it, recognize it and say, no, squash, flip it, burn it. Whatever your position is that you've gained from what we've talked about today, squash it and flip it over. And eventually it's not going to be that thought. You're not going to fight that. But don't get too comfortable, because another thought's going to conjure up again in this thing, this brain of ours. are lots of little nuggets. Like I said, we could defrag a lifetime and still not find all the idiosyncrasies of stuff that we've retained for whatever reason, from whatever reason or experience. So I invite you to download Inter-Ally Activation Sheet in the show notes. And if you could, share the way you flip your inner critic this week by using hashtag InterVictory and tag at AskAdamLive. Again, hashtag InterVictory, tag at AskAdamLive. When you lead your inner voice, you change your outer world. You're not battling self-doubt. You're becoming the person of who no longer believes you. This has been another tremendous episode of Ask Adam Live. If you enjoyed this episode, found value, or know of someone who would find value, click like or subscribe, share with anyone, and remember, let's go out and make it a great day.